Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to the first of Broadleaf's Summer 2014 webinar series covering e-commerce tips, trends, and technology. This is Brad Buell. I'm responsible for marketing and partners at Broadleaf, and I'm joined today by Brent Lemons, the e-commerce practice lead at one of Broadleaf's key strategic implementation and integration partners, Credera. Brent, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Brad. I'm excited to be here today.
So today, Brent and I will be kicking things off with key considerations and tips for an e-commerce replatforming, or what we're calling your e-com field kit. Let's dig in. Today, Brent will briefly introduce you to Credera so you know why he can speak authoritatively on today's subject. I'll then cover top reasons and associated risks we see both at Broadleaf as well as in the broader enterprise market for replatforming projects today. We'll then cover a few high-level replatform options or strategies, followed by e-commerce replatform best practices, regardless of your e-commerce platform. I'll then address why Broadleaf is the best enterprise option for an e-commerce replatform, and we'll close with a Q&A session. Please feel free to use the chat feature of the webinar during the session as questions come up, and we'll work to address all questions at the end of the session. Brent, over to you.
Thanks, Brad, and thank you to everyone who's joined us online today. Credera is a full-service management and technology consulting firm, and we're based in Dallas, Texas, and we have additional offices in Houston, Texas, and in Denver, Colorado. We have about 200 consultants, and we're spread across 10 functional practices. But what really differentiates us is the breadth of experience we're able to bring to a project. There are some firms that focus on management consulting, and there are others that focus on technology. And then additionally, there are many creative or user experience firms in the market. Management consulting firms are able to tell you if a project is viable. A creative firm can tell you whether or not they can make your product desirable. And then a technology firm is able to make your project technically feasible. It's only when you have all three together that a project is going to be successful. Credera has brought all three of these skill sets into a single firm so our clients can feel assured that they have hired a single firm capable of meeting all their project needs and reducing the competitiveness that can occur with differing priorities between different firms. The functional practice I'm proud to represent is our e-commerce solutions practice. We help our clients solve their toughest e-commerce challenges, and we do it in three different ways. From a strategy perspective, we help our clients identify their vision, their goals, and define their business model to be successful. Additionally, we help them work through the business challenges of e-commerce, such as fulfillment and customer service. Architecture planning and design is the process of determining the best tools, the best methodologies, and understanding the capacity necessary to make the project successful. Our user experience practice frequently assists us in these e-commerce projects to make the site not only aesthetically pleasing, but also intuitive to your buyers. Finally, once the planning and design are complete, we're able to implement the solution across a wide variety of technologies and e-commerce platforms. And down at the bottom, you can see a sampling of the firms we've helped over the years, and they range from startups to Fortune 500 companies, including some of the biggest names on the internet, such as The Container Store and Neiman Marcus. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Brad for some additional reasons for replatforming.
Yeah, thank you for the context, Brent. It has been a pleasure working with Credera on key Broadleaf client implementations. So let's quickly outline three major reasons and associated risks that we've seen with regards to e-commerce replatforming. So a common reason for replatforming is having a performant, scalable system. Whether it be retailers that hit peak load and processing the bulk of their revenue through a 4-day period, or the general e-commerce market, which continues to take a larger portion of overall sales, we continue to see enterprises who have either internally developed a system that has started to bust at the seams, as well as companies who have built an initial system which was not architected to meet business growth needs. And the challenge for businesses here is in removing their legacy thinking. So a sure way to fail in an enterprise e-commerce replatform effort is by building existing problems into a new platform. And these traps can include statements from a team such as the new system needs to do everything the old system did plus more. The goal here instead should be appropriately planning the implementation and operations of the new system while deprecating unused or unneeded legacy feature sets and integrations. And speaking of feature sets and integrations, technical currency, including in the areas of e-commerce features and integrations, is another key driver. And while many companies look to differentiate themselves from prime competitors, pun intended, others seek to meet the needs of a changing consumer base. Here, refreshing both business and technical documentation is a critical activity most enterprises don't keep up to date because they've got ever-expanding touch points and business requirements, production jobs, custom integrations, etc. Those all materialize through the course of a system's operation. So updating the business and technical documentation does provide a baseline for a solid e-commerce replatform roadmap, and really without it, an enterprise is at risk of missing key business requirements and technical integrations. And finally, strategic business needs drive replatforming efforts. Yes, I realize it's a broad reason, and it can incorporate a laundry list of other reasons, but we've seen some interesting trends at Broadleaf Commerce in particular that I wanted to walk you guys through. One being globalization, where we see Fortune 1000 companies sometimes staying on their old e-commerce platforming and implementing Broadleaf in new geographies before replatforming their legacy e-commerce system. Another trend that we've seen is new business verticals. We see companies deploying Broadleaf across new brands, resellers, and distributors in very complex environments that require a robust e-commerce framework that a legacy system many times simply cannot support. So here, where we find risk is in the assumptions made around business strategies, especially when we talk about entering new verticals or geographies. So aside from the obvious understanding that's needed around legal and regulatory requirements, enterprise companies would do well to plan their e-commerce roadmap with all options in mind. So with that being said, let's get on to e-commerce replatform options. So the first option that we have here is replicating or replacing an existing site. And at Broadleaf, we worked with a client recently with hundreds of locations in the UK that had the goal of updating their back-end systems and business processes prior to introducing any new risk when updating the customer-facing front end. So Brent, can you talk us through other scenarios where you'd recommend or not recommend the same approach?
Yeah, I think the important thing to consider here is what we have listed under the challenges. And undertaking a project like this, it's easy to overlook functionality that's often baked into an existing platform, but it's transparent to the user and to the support staff. So it's important to make sure that you overturn every rock to ensure that you found every bit of hidden functionality before you move forward with this type of replatform.
Great. Thanks, Brent. So we've also recently worked at Broadleaf with another online-only retailer. They're clearing just under $20 million in sales per year, and they outgrew their homegrown system and needed a platform to fit their needs going forward. They decided to create a new site with a new design and integrations and a sort of a big bang project. So Brent, when do you recommend a complete e-commerce overhaul for a business?
You know, I think this is a great approach to a project. It gives you the opportunity to focus on the aspects of your current site that are truly successful, and you can also implement new features that the previous platform made difficult or impossible. And I think understanding your integration points is very, very important here for this type of replatform.
Thanks. I know we're going to talk about integration later too. So finally, let's talk about an iterative strategy. So I could speak about a third recent Broadleaf implementation that was for a large multinational. They built multiple custom front-end sites that were dependent on the country, and then they had a single back-end console to have central administrative side across all those instances. So we deployed Broadleaf for that client as a headless application and took into legacy, hooked into legacy and custom systems, and then we had plans to expand Broadleaf's capabilities into the various business units over time. So when else, Brent, might it make sense to strategically kind of land and expand?
Yes, this approach really allows you to start small. One common approach is to start start by swapping out your shopping cart experience. And once you have that successfully rolled out, you can then move into something like the catalog and the search experience. But what you can do is you can gradually swap out each component, and by doing so, you reduce the risk associated with the big bang rollouts that we often see.
Great. Well, thank you, Brent. That was really good stuff.
Thanks, Brad. So based on Credera's e-commerce experience, we've been able to identify 7 best practices that we feel lead to a successful replatform project. The first and most important one is to understand the business drivers, the objectives, and your customers' needs whenever you go into this project. These should be quantifiable, and they should be the basis upon which you build your success metrics throughout the project. What they do is they keep you accountable to your final goal. With Pep Boys, everything started from the statement, our customers should be able to order tires in their pajamas. From that one statement, a business strategy was built around taking the customer experience from the store to the home. And through that, it included all the internal business and technical challenges that were required. Next, you need to show business value early. These projects are a long-term investment, but the business likes to see returns on their investments as soon as possible. And excitement around the project can fade fast if a clear value is not visible early on. This can take different forms depending on the 3 different replatform options that we discussed just a second ago. When replicating an existing site or when you're recreating as a new site, this is most frequently accomplished by demoing completed functionality to key stakeholders at the end of each development sprint or development cycle. For an iterative deployment like the one we talked about at the end, you should be able to show quantifiable changes based on pieces that you've deployed. So what is the increase in conversions based on your new shopping cart? How much have organic search results increased since implementing the new catalog? Really things that you can put a number to and show to the leadership of your organization that, yes, things actually are being adopted and people are happy with the way we're rolling things out. Take a mobile-first strategy. So statistics available from Internet Retailer show that mobile browsing of e-commerce sites is growing year over year, but conversion rates for most sites have not changed significantly. The reason for that is the user experience provided by too many sites is exactly the same as that on the desktop. So think about that for a moment. They're trying to show the same information that's readable on a 13-inch or larger display, but they're trying to squeeze it onto a 4-inch screen, and it just becomes unreadable and it's difficult to take action. The sites that are seeing success with mobile devices are the ones taking a responsive or an adaptive approach. So they use the same data provided to the desktop, but formatted in a way that's readable depending on the screen resolution. We had a great deal of success with this approach at backcountry.com, where we saw an immediate increase in mobile sales based on taking their existing site and making it responsive. Next, you need to identify your system integrations. The most important thing here is to understand what each integration is and whether it's relevant to the new platform. Plan for performance, scalability, and resiliency. We often focus on meeting today's needs, but we can fail to plan for future capacity, and now is the time to address this. When the Container Store was looking to replatform, they needed a platform that would meet their existing demand spikes. However, they were aware that more marketing partnerships that they were taking on would be coming in the future, and they wanted to plan for those accordingly. So when they went through their replatform process, one of their intended goals was to be able to scale up and scale down based on their daily and weekly changing demand. So that was baked into the replatform project from the very beginning. You should prepare for your data conversion from the very beginning of your project. Data conversions are very complex. We were recently working with a client where this was made even more complex by the fact that they were on an industry-specific proprietary platform where the data model was obscure and data exports were very difficult to accomplish. For this reason, you need to understand the complexities of the conversion from the very start. Understand what absolutely must be converted, what would be nice to have, and then what you can ignore. You also need to focus on how and when you'll do the conversion. Best case scenario, you can do a large conversion a week or two before the new platform cutover, and then you can do a delta conversion the night of your go live. something to stress here is that you really should practice your conversions. Do this a couple times before you even go into your final conversion process, because they're going to take longer than you expect, and something unexpected is going to pop up. So go ahead and get it over with early. Understand the process, practice it, so then whenever you do the actual conversion, things go very smoothly. And finally, select a partner based on their skills, their experience, and their culture. These are complicated undertakings, but don't just look at skills and experience. Consider their culture as well. This is a partner you're going to be working with closely for several months. Make sure your work styles and your culture mesh. Our team at Credera had a great time working with Vology in Tampa, Florida, based on our shared company cultures. Our team that would go to Vology's office would enjoy dinners and baseball games together. And at the end of the project, Vology was able to take some of the agile practices that we taught them through the software development cycle and implement those throughout their entire organization, and even in many non-technology situations, such as in their warehouse and within their executive boardroom. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Brad and let him discuss how Broadleaf can help with these best practices.
Broadleaf Commerce was built from the ground up using a best-of-breed open source tools. So we leveraged the powerful combination of Spring and Java, which is still the leading enterprise development platform of choice worldwide. And our clients realize that they're not just replatforming to meet their current needs, but they're delivering an e-commerce framework that will help meet their future needs. So let me give you an example. When social media networks like Facebook and Twitter started growing in popularity and offered APIs for integration, corporate development teams using Broadleaf were able to leverage Spring Social tools to easily integrate without having to write their own custom APIs to each system. So the time for go-to-market was quicker. There were lower development and lower maintenance costs in leveraging those Spring Social integrations. Similarly, Broadleaf leverages Hibernate to access databases on the back end. So while other competitors are stuck with proprietary persistence layers, Broadleaf is able to more easily customize and extend highly complex systems by leveraging Hibernate's persistence layer, which is similar to how we leverage Solar for everything search-related, Jersey for RESTful integrations, and Timeleaf as a templating engine. Well, we leverage these best-of-breed open-source technologies to continue to create features ranging from the traditional catalog, cart, and checkout e-commerce functions to more advanced merchandising, marketing, and multi-everything capabilities, handling multiple languages, currencies, sites, tenants, and channels. We're always adding and enhancing features on the platform so our clients can address not only current but also future business needs and strategic direction. And Broadleaf is designed to be truly modular. While some competitors mean they're able to plug and unplug third-party applications, we take modularity a step further by being able to include or exclude different Broadleaf feature sets in your Broadleaf e-commerce platform deployment. So you don't have to deal with the bloat of system components you don't use. So by having both a fully modular and extensible system, Broadleaf clients are able to stay technically current and can more easily put processes into place to stop an organization from amassing technical debt. Broadleaf has also been proven to be highly performant and horizontally scalable. So we tested our platform across hundreds of transactions per second, tens of thousands of concurrent users, and millions of products in real-world environments. We proved our test with sub-second response times and tested it on commodity hardware, proving we could easily handle the needs of the most complex business that processes billions of dollars a year online. We have an ultra-competitive annual subscription price that entitles our enterprise clients to add features as we release them, see a consistently higher development and integration velocity against our competition. As I mentioned before, run on commodity hardware, which saves on infrastructure costs, and we offer 24/7 support. So our sales team would love to prove to you that Broadleaf has the lowest total cost of ownership for an enterprise e-commerce solution on the market today. And finally, we've been battle tested by brands you know and love, whether it be GANS that supports multiple lines of business and digital currency, the Container Store delivering omni-channel e-commerce on Broadleaf since 2009, or Pep Boys developing an integrated e-commerce solution from the ground up to support hundreds of thousands of SKUs across hundreds of stores for a combination of online in-store, and service purchasing, which is all tied through loyalty and customer personalization capabilities. Well, that's enough from us. We want to hear from you. So please feel free to ask a question using the chat feature of the webinar, and we'll work on responding on questions as they come. Okay, we have a few questions in queue to kick it off. So the first question, I think, is addressed to both of us. Do Broadleaf and Credera work exclusively with each other? And I'll take this real quick if that's all right with you, Brent. Yep. So a great question. While we do have many shared logos among clients, both Broadleaf and Credera do work with other companies. So we each have the perspective of doing what's best for our clients, and though we do have a great partnership with each other, we do partner with other companies as well. Okay, next question, Brent, I believe is for you. Are you recommending a replatform effort in order to add mobile capabilities?
No, not at all. Although it's important when you're considering a replatform, mobile interfaces can be created on top of an existing implementation in a mobile-specific manner, or simply by reworking. I say simply, or by reworking existing interfaces to be more responsive or adaptive using existing artifacts.
Great. So the next question looks to be for either of us. What about a company that has a lot of technical debt? How would you recommend we approach an e-commerce replatforming effort?
I'm going to be the consultant here and say it depends. The technical debt that's within the systems you integrate with will still need to be addressed regardless of your replatform strategy.
Okay, and I'll add that from a pure e-commerce system perspective, we've seen organizations with lots of technical debt in their e-commerce system that replace the whole system at once. But that's where a lot of data conversion and system integration problems can come in, as Brent talked about earlier. Okay, if we've got no more remaining questions, then that will be it for us. Thank you so much for attending today. We will be following up. Please go ahead and go to broadleafcommerce.webex.com to register for our other summer webinar series. Thank you for attending, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.